We want to move the story forward here to the ongoing movement in solidarity with the people of Palestine. And of course, one element of that we often point out is the repression that is meted out against students. Recently at Pomona College, there were some arrests that took place during a sit-in, and we want to talk about that. And we are very happy to have Melia, who is one of the students arrested at Pomona College during the Palestine Solidarity sit-in, which was organized, by the way, by Pomona Divest from Apartheid. Melia, thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Well, it's an honor to have you here. Maybe to start, for those who didn't see it, haven't seen what took place. I mean, just give us. I mean, I gave a little capsule view there, but give us a sense of what took place, what the sit-in was about, why you all were there, and then what took place with the police.
Yeah, absolutely. So on Friday, April 5th, there was a sit-in, which was an act of civil disobedience by students at the Claremont Colleges, Pomona College specifically. And it all started out when we had erected an apartheid wall, which was a work of student art that commemorated the martyrs in Gaza and was also calling for disclosure and divestment. Um, and the school on Friday morning began to violently tear down the student artwork and steal students' belongings, removing things that were on the lawn. And so students decided that we had to escalate in order to have our demands be heard and to show that this is not acceptable and that repression of, student voices and student calls for divestment is, not acceptable, and students aren't going to just stand by while the administration tries to intimidate us. So we decided to building calmly and just participate in an act of civil disobedience to make sure that our demands were heard, which as you can see here on the screen, resulted in over 30 police from the Claremont Police Department and also neighboring towns being called on students who were just sitting in demanding for divestment at Pomona College.
Mm. Maybe you could just talk to us more too about I don't know what else to call it. I guess complicity by the Claremont colleges that have led you all to launch this campaign. Complicity, of course, in the genocide and the occupation of Palestine.
Yeah, absolutely. So Pomona Divest from Apartheid is a multiracial coalition of students and also organizations that are calling for disclosure and divestment, and as well as the academic boycott of any weapons manufacturers and companies that profit from Israeli apartheid and genocide. And so this campaign has been going on for over 6 months. We have, there have been delegations, there have been rallies, there have been walkouts, there have been, letters delivered. There have been, multiple, attempts to communicate and make sure that our demands are heard by the administration. And ultimately, Pomona College has, a $2.8 billion endowment. It is one of the wealthiest and most prestigious liberal arts colleges in the country. And, they are actively complicit and profiting off of genocide. So as you can see here, with the riot cops coming in to arrest us, it is no coincidence that, a school that is profiting off of, militarized occupation and genocide is choosing to use that same type of force on their own students.
Oh, Rania, you're muted.
Of course. Well, everything was going too smoothly. Had to just throw a wrench in there. But I think this is obviously like a pattern that we've seen across the country in terms of various college administrations coming back very harshly against students, as well as even professors who are expressing solidarity with Palestine and trying to, materially do things, whether, when it comes to divesting student funds or school funds out of the military industrial complex, which is very much a part of the Israeli occupation. So I'm just curious, in this context, is that same pattern of having, the administration and donors and various pro-Israel groups actively on campus pushing back really hard while you've got this sort of groundswell of support for Palestine from students and even professors? Is that dynamics the same on this campus? Where is the pro-Israel attitude coming from? Obviously, you mentioned a material side of this, which is there's obviously profiting from the Israeli occupation, but does it go beyond that? Are you dealing with groups that are, actively attacking and lobbying the administration?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are absolutely Zionist groups on campus that are invested in upholding, the Israeli occupation and genocide. As a campaign, our philosophy is just not to engage with antagonizers and to remain focused on our own goals. So, we do not engage with any of those antagonizers, and we just try to remain focused on our demands for divestment. And divestment is extremely popular at Pomona College. There was actually a student referendum. So the student government hosted basically a poll of the entire student body, which over 60% of students participated in, which was the third highest voter turnout in college history. And within that referendum, over 90% of students who voted that they supported disclosure,
Mm.
and between 75 and 90% of students said that they supported divestment and also adherence to the academic boycott as outlined by the USA CBI academic boycott. So it is, quite ironic, honestly, that this, among students and among community members, like disclosure and divestment are extremely popular. And I think that that is actually exactly why the administration is so keen to, silence our voices and, arrest us with riot cops, put us in jail, and, deny students their access to their learning environment, their housing, their meal plans, just for speaking out and participating in an act of civil disobedience, which represents the views of many community members.
No, I'm glad you pointed that out. I mean, because obviously, we are in this moment where there's been this massive upsurge of solidarity in Palestine in every way, and that was actually the next question I was going to ask: is if you've been getting support from the surrounding community and others, especially in the context of the movement that's been raging on and off campus.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are very much, in solidarity with and supporting students around the country who, are facing similar levels of repression, even more repression. I know at Columbia, they used chemical weapons on, student demonstrators. So we are absolutely seeing, this as a connected student movement, combating genocide and occupation, and that, in fact, the same structures of domination and violence that we are being subject to as students to silence us are the very same structures that are very violently oppressing Palestinians every single day and are being used to keep them under occupation. So we do view this as an extremely interconnected fight, and we're really thankful for the bravery and leadership of students, and most importantly the Palestinian BDS movement throughout the country and throughout transnationally, showing us what it means to stand up and to, demand material change from these institutions, which ultimately, we have power to ask this of our institutions. We are the students who go here. We are the communities. Without us, there would be no school. So it's really crucial that we use our power here to make our voices heard and demand material change.
And I'm also curious, I mean, I know that there's been a lot of increasing support in Palestine solidarity circles on college campuses for the last like 10 years, or more even. But I imagine that since October 7th, since Israel's genocide on Gaza has just, taken this live stream, disgusting form that we've all been witnessing and been traumatized by the last several months, um, has that changed the game in terms of causing more students to get involved on this issue and to want to learn about it and to care about it than existed pre October 7th?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there has been, boycott, divest, and sanctions campaigns on campus for, over the last 10 years. There's a pro College, which is one of the colleges in the consortium here, the Claremont Colleges consortium, to suspend Pitzer Haifa in accordance with the academic boycott. And that has been a long campaign that they are very close to winning. And, so I think that there has been, mass mobilization for a long time, thankfully, but I do think that it's absolutely escalated and, gotten even larger in the last 6 months. And that's when, Pomona Divest for Apartheid, this coalition of student groups and students, has really emerged, to meet the urgency of this moment of escalating genocide. We know that there's been, genocide and ethnic cleansing for the last 75 years in Palestine, but as we discussed, it's being live streamed in front of us, and it's absolutely our moral responsibility to not only speak out, but to take action and really put something on the line in order to achieve our demands of divestment.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, very interesting to see what's happening, and we had the opportunity to cover the Pitzer College issue as well, and we'll continue to cover this because this is certainly critically important action. Melia Oliver, really appreciate you being willing to join us here on the Freedom Side.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.